But one of my major addictions I discovered early, very early in the teachings, is that I had an addiction to drama. Yeah, well, when I look at my life today, I know that I had to release a lot of the things that did not serve me. In order, of course, there's the areas like if you say, the best way to lose weight, you give up the foods that don't serve you, but then you have to also add exercise. You can, on one hand, you give up something as you add something else. So if you are gonna start meditating, and if you're gonna start praying, and the other walking outdoors, being with nature, all of these things are wonderful things, but you also have to know how to release and give up the things that don't serve you.
Hi, everyone. I am Julie Edmonds, your host of Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul. Hi, welcome to Channel. Today, I have the honor of hosting Weam Namou. She is an Eric Hoffer award-winning author of over 20 books. She's a filmmaker of 2 feature films and a renowned leader in the field of writing and spiritual development. Her latest feature film, Pomegranate, is now streaming in over 25 countries and has garnered over 50 awards to date. Hi, Liam. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. I'm honored to have you today and speak with you. So let's dive in. Why don't we just start with a little bit about your journey that led you to being a filmmaker and a spiritual leader, and anything you want to add in there?
Well, my journey started as a writer. I wanted to be a full-time writer. And so I just jumped into that. I made a decision after graduating from college that I would travel and write. And I did both of these things. And then initially, that's all I wanted to do. But over time, I realized that there was a purpose behind what I was writing and how I was writing. And part of that purpose was really associated to my spiritual journey. I ended up having teachers, whether from India, Native American teachers, over time. Most recently, although she passed away a few years ago, was Lynn V. Andrews, her 4-year mystical school. So automatically, my writing as well wasn't like merged with my spiritual teachings and the teachings that I received, as well as my films. They are meant to inspire and empower. And I guess like I've combined everything together over time.
I love that. I mean, look, I'm inspired. Being a writer myself, and we host Channeled here. Like a big part of me and everything I do is I channel these stories. I see these vivid imagery, and I feel like that's, what you're talking about through your storytelling and your films. So tell me, more about that. Like, I'm sure that you're tapping into your spiritual journeys when you're writing your stories and you're filming your movies or shows.
Well, what the way I got to this point is because there was again the spiritual aspect was very important in my life, but I'm Chaldean. What Chaldeans are neo-Babylonians who still speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus. And I come from a land where my people have not been able to continue their ethnicity, their teachings, their culture.
Mm.
And I did not know. I came here as a child, so I had no idea why I even came here. I just understood that we had to escape from Iraq. It was during Saddam's totalitarian regime, and come to the United States. And as a child, I was not part of that decision. Actually, we had to even leave in secrecy. And so that was very traumatic for me. Nobody even told us that we were coming here because they were afraid that, especially the younger children, which is myself and my younger brother, that we would basically blur it out to people. So they didn't even tell us that we were leaving. So it took a long time, many years, of not even realizing that I had experienced so much trauma.
Oh,
So for me, the spirituality aspect kind of came to me as a blessing from people who recognized this is what I needed. And those were, again, like my first teacher was a man from India, Narendra Kumar. And then my second teacher was a Native American man from the Cherokee tribe, along with his partner, a woman, her name is Susan. And then lastly, Lynn. And each one of them saw a part of myself that needed healing. They understood better what my origins and my heritage was than I knew about. And
wow.
my heritage is incredibly spiritual. They were known as mathematicians, astrologers, astronomers. They helped create the cradle of civilization. So imagine from going from there, from building and creating, and where they had gods and goddesses, where there was equality between the female and the male energies, where Ishtar is from, and Inanna, all these female figures that were literally buried amongst the history of that area. You know, the first writer in recorded history is a woman from ancient Mesopotamia. She was a priestess, she was a princess, and she's the first recorded writer, not because nobody had written before her, but she wanted to take ownership of her name. And so she wrote at the bottom of her poetry, "It is I and Hadwana who wrote this, something my king has never done before." This is the first you have ownership, like the author title, from a woman from that region.
Wow. Wait,
Guess who?
what's her name?
And Hadwana.
Anawana.
And her disc, which had all this, was discovered in 1927. She lived over thousands of years ago, but it was discovered in 1927 by British archaeologists. And I believe the reason being is that she had to be buried for all this time, resurfaced, and then the people that acknowledge her, for the most part, are Westerners. That disc was carried to the West in order to exonerate her name and amplify her name from being, from not knowing who started writing or anything like that to now people know of her, although not many, much more people need to know about her and her poetry. And so, where I discovered all of this
Tell me,
information?
tell me.
In the United States, not even in the land that I came from. And the reason is because this land has such sacred it's really a sacred fertile land, spiritually fertile land where
Wait,
we
hold on.
can
Tell me
create.
more about that. Like, are there certain areas that are more sacred than others? I'd love to hear more about this.
Well, okay, so for me, of course, it's Michigan, given that these experiences happened to me here. But, a lot of people, I did not know the fascination behind Native Americans, and people going sometimes looking for them but I worked in a family business, a video store, where they literally came to my door.
Wow.
I wrote a book called The Oneida Man, Conversations with My Native American Friend, a Native American who I've known for over 30 years, that this was just a natural process for me. But I believe it's just because I believe wherever we are really is a sacred land. However, there were seeds that were planted by the people before us that I feel are helping us move forward. And I do think that the Native Americans in this land have planted, and this is part of some of the things that they told me, is that they planted these seeds for the well-being of whoever comes along and enjoys the land.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I 100% believe that. I feel like I've experienced some past lives or, with quantum healing and all these quantum jumping. We don't know if we're all paralleled or whatever, but I've often connected to Native American Indian energy. So going back to Anaya, I believe you said her name was, how has she influenced you in your writing?
She influenced me because when I discovered her, I thought, wait, I had to keep reading the information. I said, wait, is this correct? She's from the land that I'm from. Then I started realizing that I don't think I know really who I am and where I came from and what does it mean to be Chaldean. And the fact that I was able to find a woman, which from an area that's very patriarchal, I thought there has to be more to this than that. I was asked to give a presentation at the Theosophical Society. I think it was in 2015. And they said, we know you've written about Enheduanna and some of the other goddesses, so can you talk about that? I said, okay, but let me do some more research so I can include other goddesses because I'm sure maybe I don't have all the information. To my astonishment, there were so many that I ended up gathering all these different goddesses. Like there was a goddess of healing. Her name was Gula, and she was always surrounded by dogs. And they have a statue of her with God sitting around her. And there was the goddess of beer, the
Beer,
goddess of beer.
like alcohol beer.
Because during that time, beer was considered healthier than water.
Wow.
And so she had all these priestesses every day that would brew fresh beer and give it to the community, men, women, children, because it was healthier. So I started doing all these research and I thought like this needs to be brought to the surface. I wrote a book called Mesopotamian Goddesses that includes the major goddesses who had very instrumental stories and who were part of creation, who also, oftentimes when you think about the cradle of civilization, it seems like it was made by just kings and all these male figures. But the women had a strong aspect to it, to the point where actually a king during that time had to be initiated through a goddess.
Oh, wow. No, oh, that is so fascinating. Tell me more because you're right. A lot of history is written in the male, king, masculine energy way. And it sounds like you're discovering so much of the goddesses and the initiation of the goddesses and the female energy and the empowerment. And I truly believe women are the manifestors, and so you've done a lot of research, but I'm sure you've connected divinely to these as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I connected divinely. This is my heritage. I think we all, such connection is not reserved to the Chaldeans. It's not reserved to the Native Americans or any groups. We all have our own heritage. It's remembering that heritage and the value behind that. And there's so many misconceptions, especially when topics relating to women. And for instance, the word goddess has been taken out of context to the point where, especially if for myself as a Christian Catholic, when I was doing this research, what I found is that these titles were really an honorary title.
Hmm.
It's kind of like saying congressman, congresswoman, but you have one president. So they actually had gods and goddesses, but they believed in one supreme being.
Hmm. Great.
But the gods and the goddesses were designated to take care of certain areas, like there was the god of water or the goddess, like I said, of healing, and they were all uh, individuals who are taking care of the earth in different ways. The, whether it's the sky, they knew how to choreograph energy. This is something that I learned in Lynn's mysticism school, Lynn V. Andrews, who passed away, as I mentioned. Um, I think this is when I started realizing the deeper aspects of what I was connected to. She taught from the feminine perspective, which is something that I hadn't experienced in my previous teachings. And at that time, I really needed that. Again, I found that there's been a lot of oppression, genocide, a lot of things that had occurred, not only to Chaldeans or other minorities in that region, but to women especially. And so that healing had to happen in order for me to rediscover my roots. And in order to understand that I don't come from a victimhood type of being. I was empowered by these women and by these stories.
Wow. So you've tapped into your ancestry and then like your ancestral roots. And there's something to be said about that ancestral healing as well. And looking at it from, we always want to do better each generation. And you're taking this almost information you've discovered and bringing it into the light. You've written so many books, Liam. Do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? Well, Pomegranate started off as a script. I ended up writing it as a book to become a good director in the film, and I had all the cast and the crew read it. That was the best. It's for me, this is the best form of communication, is being very expressive through books. This is my favorite form of storytelling, but I have evolved into doing films because I understand the power of for my stories to reach a larger audience. And we're in modern day, like before they used clay tablets to communicate, right? And we didn't have like what you're using right now is incredible for me to be able to communicate these ideas. And this is what people like are enjoying right now. But writing books has a different special type of relationship. I can go very deep into the story. Usually, I would say Mesopotamian goddesses. I really loved that book because I was discovering so much as I was writing it.
Wow, so you
And
learned.
I was discovering, yeah, like for me, every book that you write, the first and foremost, it changes you as the author, right? Like you, if as you're working through your book, is it really transforming? It's transforming the writer first and foremost. And then you are so, I would hope that you are so inspired by your own writing and so in love with what you just created that at that point you want to share it with the world. It's a gift. Then you want to give it as a gift.
Yeah.
Just like anything that we create, whether the people that have created this design or this necklace, the growth of that material that they created is the sharing. And of course, there's a fair exchange that occurs, or whether you give it freely or whether you give it, there's, as a fair exchange for something else. At the end of the day, what is it also serving? I think the joy really comes from creating something that has to have some kind of element of serving, not just self-serving.
Right.
Um, and
Well, I
this is a
think
little bit
what
of the
you're saying,
difference.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
what you're saying is so important because as a writer, I can totally relate because a lot of times what we teach and we write what we need to learn ourselves. And the more we heal, the more we learn, the more we can heal those around us. And through those words, those messages, so the symbolism in that frequency of that energy, who needs to hear it will hear it. And I feel like through our own healing, you're right. It's not a it is self-satisfying, but it's also like worldly satisfying and that's a beautiful message that you have. What
And
advice?
it's a blessing.
Yeah,
It's a blessing for you when you are creating something like this. You are like the Native Americans who believe that, and when they make decisions, they think 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. So every decision, what you are planting, you are not only shifting the consciousness within yourself, but those around you. So you are creating this powerful karma for the earth. And it does matter what kind of stories we tell and what kind of intentions, regardless of the initial rewards that we receive.
right. I agree. Wow, that's beautiful. What advice do you have for people that everyone says they have a book in them, right? And so I have a lot of spiritually, awakened friends, and they're like, oh, I want to write this book, but I'm afraid, I'm afraid my message, and then they have these limiting beliefs. What advice can you give them on just letting their message flow through?
So the advice I would give writers is that to really look within and understand why do they want to write this book and what's stopping them, and not to use blame or excuses for not writing the book. So when I connected with Lynn, at the time I had 3 books out and I was a journalist. So I was writing. However, I had 2 small children and I was married and still married, thank God. And I had what felt like very chaotic lifestyle, given that I was trying to continue to go into my head and write. But I felt like it was my kids driving me crazy. You know, you had the SpongeBob and the Dora in the background playing, and you had to make dinner, and I'm juggling all these things, and I have so many siblings, and so everybody was at fault, right? That they were just kind of interfering in my writing lifestyle. And when I connected with her, there was a book I was working on called The Great American Family, a nonfiction. I was having such a struggle with that. And I really just contacted her to get some literary advice, not knowing that she was going to tap into the wounds that I had that were
Oh,
preventing me from moving forward with my book. It was looking into that I realized, looking into myself, into what we call the dark side that was holding me back. We need to look at that. And I have to ask writers, do they invest in themselves as writers, into their spiritual aspect, into their writing aspect? I've invested so much to grow as a person and so that I can also find my voice. And I enrolled in her school, a 4 year school, full time with my children as I was trying to navigate this. By the way, just to show how energy works, the book was completed after I graduated. It won an Eric Hoffer Award. I ended up completing a documentary 2 years after that with the same title that won over a dozen awards. It's available on Amazon Prime. And that is just a testament towards how energy works. So,
yeah.
are you willing to invest energetically the work that it takes of looking at the different aspects of yourself, looking into the center and seeing the dark side, and then seeing whether you are balanced physically, emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually? Those are four very important aspects of ourselves that need healing and alignment in order for us to help make, create what we are wanting to create and manifest it.
What did you say again? Spiritually, emotionally, intellectually?
Yes. So I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna mention the four aspects, the four directions, which we went over a wheel constantly to look into these four aspects of ourselves: the physical aspect, the emotional, the spiritual, and the intellectual.
Wow. So I have a lot of questions about your healing process because as a certified hypnotherapist practicing for the past 6 years and really deep diving in my own shadows and my dark work and really rewiring, releasing, letting go, facing, understanding, accepting, the whole, all of that and all those four factors and deeply. When that happened, I was able to open up this vessel and write this book that we talked about that was stalking me for 20 years. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can do it now because I did. I removed that. And I love that you said that message because it's true. Those blocks are real. They're not in your head. They're deep in our soul, and we have to be able to look at them. And I think that's just part of the evolution process that we're what's your purpose to get rid of and become that authentic self. So, Wham, in your healing practice, is there some quick, easy, and anything's quick and easy, but some practical things that you do every single day to stay aligned, to make sure that you're tapping into your highest self? And could we go back and look at maybe some of your healing practices? What were some of the things that you did or, worked on with some of your guides? That is a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, when I look at my life today, I know that I had to release a lot of the things that did not serve me.
Yeah.
In order, of course, there's the areas like if you say, the best way to lose weight, you give up the foods that don't serve you, but then you have to also add exercise. You can, on one hand, you give up something as you add something else. So if you are gonna start meditating, and if you're gonna start praying and the other walking outdoors, being with nature, all of these things are wonderful things, but you also have to know how to release and give up the things that don't serve you because they will get in the way. I have seen a lot of people have a hard time giving away time that they spent in certain places, like socializing, that probably they can do without. You know, it might seem, or having addictions. Another thing that we're not aware of is letting go of addictions that are not necessarily about smoking, drinking, eating. We everything we place value on we think has to do with physical aspect of ourselves. But there's inner addictions. One of the addictions I had to let go of and manage, let's just say it's not all gone and it's never will be, but one of my major addictions I discovered very early in the teachings is that I had an addiction to drama. And I would never think that was an addiction. That seems like, well, that's life, drama. But no, actually, there was an addiction in my case that was ancestral, given that I come from the Middle East and given the drama that you still see ongoing on and on, right? And
Wow.
I thought, oh my God, how did I carry that? Wait, what? That's even a thing, and how do I participate in that, and what's my role? So I'm blaming for all these people bringing me drama, but I'm an addict of drama, so I'm allowing it. So I had to take certain steps to eliminate that, and I could not believe how difficult it was because I had not given it any acknowledgement before.
Wow.
But like I said, now the difference is it's not like I'm completely, I mean, drama is also, there's our egos are always going to be there. So I'll watch the news. I watch certain like reality TVs. I do get involved in sometimes with drama with my sisters. However, the difference now compared to before, I know what I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I know, when you are on a diet, but then you're giving yourself permission to have a piece of cake, you know that you really understand the health factors and you are pretty doing good with yourself. And you are allowing yourself to enjoy this rather than condemning yourself or being addicted to it. There's a difference of just enjoying that process. So being aware and letting go of those things that no longer serve you, being spiritual warrior. I think we talk about mental health a lot, and I do believe, yes, you have to be mentally, whether it's mentally, also emotionally, there's a lot of factors, but we tend to sometimes give one area of our lives more importance than another. Well, we have to be spiritually healthy as well, mentally healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, and we have to see how to balance these things out. For myself, I've loved having teachers.
No, that's great.
I Teachers help you.
Yeah.
If the work that you do, those people around you who know you and who want to be writers, my recommendation to them that they use your service.
Yeah. No,
You
it's true.
want to use
Release the
Julie's
old.
service.
Bring in
She
the
can
new.
help you tap. I believe in that. I believe in people helping. I have a woman, an elderly woman who is just amazing that I connect not so much with my writing, but I know that it helps my writing because it helps me heal other aspects or helps me choreograph my day and my schedule. So I believe in investing in your spiritual self, in your career somehow or another. Uh, and when people understand energy, they're not going to rely just like, oh, just sit behind your desk and write this many hours. When it comes to energy, there's a different field of writing, and
No, it's
it's
like more
not
of a
measured by
flow.
energy.
It's like a
There's a
flow.
diff
Yeah.
It's an incredible flow, and you don't have to feel like you're like in jail, putting yourself behind a desk. There's some kind of a flow to it that it's hard to see, but and it's not that easy to measure because it takes longer. When we lose weight, we can get on a scale and you can see every day what's happening. When it comes to energy, it takes longer. So we really have to have that patience. But I would seek communities that are working around that. And it sounds like whether it's yourself, and I've known so many incredible teachers who have made themselves available. I would advise people first and foremost, really, if you care that much about your writing or other aspects of yourself, reach out to these teachers and do create this fair trade.
Fair
You
trade.
know, a fair trade because in that fair trade, they are gonna bless themselves and their career as you are blessing them.
Wow.
That's the fair trade that happens.
You know what? That's a beautiful exchange of saying something like that because a lot of people try to help to see, their own benefit, and it's not about it's about giving and then just knowing the blessing comes back. So, it's interesting what you said about you were addicted to drama. Our minds from I know from hypnotherapy, we love what's familiar, even if it's not good for us. And so for you, that familiar drama came from generations back. And so it's just familiar in your blood. And so the awareness was so key. But the next part of letting go, you know, it's easy to say, oh, let's just let go of that. Do you have, and obviously you did a lot of, work, 4 years of deep diving into your shadows and figuring out the drama part and that kind of thing. Can you share with us maybe some practical steps that you do every day
I
now that
Okay, so I will give you a something. I will give you an exercise that is around the wheel. So this can be done. This is something that I do. I offer a free Authors Guild. I'm an ambassador for the Authors Guild of America,
wow,
and I offer a monthly writing ritual meeting online every second Wednesday from 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time till 12. It's just for 1 hour, and oftentimes I use a wheel. Although I also share my other teachings, and the teachings are partly shamanic, spiritual, Babylonian. I just combine my teachings into that. But the wheel is something that we were taught to use daily, weekly, and so on and so forth. Imagine like for 4 years, okay? To the point where now I can do a wheel while I'm washing a dish, a round dish. I can do a wheel if I'm, washing my palms or something like that. So it gets integrated to the point where you don't have to put, again, it's just like the writing. You don't have to put all that effort. Although I do also do that effort of using the paper when I do it, when I'm giving the writing ritual inside of that session, I do a wheel for myself. So I get the blessing of that as well. Now, all the person has to do is you get a piece of paper, you draw a big circle,
I'm going to do this while
and
you're
then
talking, drawing a big
okay, we
circle.
can do,
Okay.
yep, we can do that. So you draw the big circle, and then inside of it, you draw a smaller circle.
Okay. Like half the size.
Even smaller. Let's
Okay.
see if I can find.
Got it. Here, I
Okay.
have one like this.
And yes,
Let
that's
me show
good.
that. Well, let me say, okay, now, yeah.
That's very good. Yep, that's very good. And then you can just, what you can do, all my papers are all written stuff on, oh, here, I found one that I can help. Then basically, just like as if you're cutting up a pie or a cake, you
Mhm.
just do like 4 lines to cut it into 4 sections,
Okay,
4 directions.
I'm also going to explain this as I'm doing that for those that are listening and not watching. So four
Okay.
X's. Okay, so 4 pieces of pie with a little circle in the middle. Got it.
Yes. Now we're gonna go around. This is the wheel. At the bottom is the south,
South.
and that's the physical aspect of ourselves.
Okay.
To the left side is the west, and that's the emotional aspect.
Hmm.
To the north is the spiritual.
Okay. Like the North Star.
Yes. And then finally, the east is the intellectual.
This reminds me of a feng shui bagua done the
Oh,
circle.
okay. Now, um, I recommend if you want to do this, especially you can start like once a day is a bit much, especially if people are just starting this. And especially like if you already journal a lot, then you can start writing differently. You can kind of start thinking the way that wheel is. So I did it especially like every Sunday. It was a very sacred time. I would make space for it. And what you want to do is you just want to sit for a couple of minutes, take deep breaths to prepare and doing this wheel. And then you just you close your eyes,
Uh-huh.
take deep breaths,
Okay. Closing my eyes and taking deep breaths.
look at what is coming up something that is coming up to you, whether it's something that happened earlier today,
Okay.
something that happened yesterday.
Anything that's coming up or in,
Yes, allow. Don't interfere. Don't let your thoughts get in the way. Allow for what wants to come to surface to come. So don't use any of your strength or thoughts to bring anything forward. So see what comes forward.
and is it a stressor or just anything? It could be something nice and
Anything. It's usually going to be a stressor, especially when you're starting the wheel. These are the things that want to be heard, usually.
yeah.
So see if it's going to be whether it happened today, whether it happened yesterday,
Okay.
last week, if
Hmm.
it's something that's been eating at you for a month or
That's
years.
something. I have something that came up. Hmm.
Okay, great. See how quickly it really, especially in the beginning, it comes up just like this. You just have to soften yourself to it and just allow.
Hmm.
Once it comes up, you open your eyes,
Okay.
you place that in the center of the wheel.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll use myself as an example. For me, what came up is drama. So I put drama in the center of my wheel. Okay. So that way I can use myself as an example. Then we're going to go around the wheel and with that, with the center in mind. So we go to the south and you'll write down where does this, for me, drama lives in my physical world?
Okay. And mine's
Okay.
reactivity to something. So,
Okay, so how does that live in your physical world? So drama for me lived with me getting on the phone with my sister, say, you said this, I said that, da 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 da. So and the physical, it has to be physical, not like I hated going through this. That's emotional. It's how does it live in your life on a physical scale?
okay. So it's in this moment, it was one of my sons.
Okay.
Physical
So yes, so physically, it's the whatever relationship, or if it was, let's say it was
situation.
money.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
situational. So yeah.
Let's say the situation is money, and it could be that lack of, as an example, then you can see, well, the bills that came up. The bills that are my paycheck or lack of, or my being laid off. However, money is affecting you on a physical scale. Then you go to the next part, which is the emotional. How is it affecting you emotionally? How does that drama live into your emotional being? And you will write about that.
Hmm. It would make me
So,
sad and maybe guilty as a mother, right?
yep, that's the emotions where it lives in that sense. Okay. And once you do that, and right now we're doing a little bit of a faster type of course, when you're gonna do it on your own, I really like go all out. Like the candles, or in my case, oftentimes I'd go outside, get my coffee cup. It's really a meditative, we often look at the meditation to create a sacred environment, but also even when you're doing a wheel, create that sacred environment around you as you're doing this. Yeah. So then you're going to go north. On a spiritual level, where does this live? So, or how is it showing up spiritually? Or what are you doing about it spiritually? So for me, I wrote at that time that, well, I registered for this school. I'm praying about it. My spiritual parts were I was praying about it and I was involved in a school to help resolve some of these issues. That was my spiritual world in regards to this topic.
Hmm.
And however you feel is showing up for you.
I think from a spiritual perspective, it's more patience and acceptance of this path, this divine path is part of the process, right? It's part of the learning. And
And I'm sure there's a lot of love there, and that's
of course,
spiritual.
yeah, yeah, well,
Yep.
100%. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Complete unconditional love. Yes.
for sure. I
Okay.
didn't know if like the love's there for sure, but I was thinking more of just accepting that, the relationship's where it's at and we're reacting to the certain situation. From a spiritual perspective, what are the lessons? What are we gaining? How are we overcoming this? What do we need from a deep level? This is how I'm
Well,
interpreting
But
Right.
now, you know what you just did? That part, that's where in the intellectual, when you get to the East, that's where you look at what is this all about?
Hmm.
What is the lesson? This is where you come full circle when you get to the East and reflect. What you were just doing, you were kind of like jumping to the next stage. That is the part that is the mental aspect of ourselves, where we end up seeing something almost like from a distance. You are almost like detaching and looking at something to understand where it's coming from, to understand the whole thing,
Like an observer effect type of thing.
like an observer. So I'll give you an example of mine, and then you, for me, by the time I got to the intellectual, by the time I filled out all these papers and with the drama, that's when I realized, oh my gosh, this is ancestral. And I am now in a position to heal this ancestral pattern
I
so
have
I don't
chills.
pass it on
Wait,
to
I
my
have
children.
chills. I have chills. Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
Me too. Nope, me too. Me too. Because now when you said when because of your son, because I felt like now that I recognize this ancestral pattern, I want to be the one that stops it because I don't want to pass it on to my children.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think it resonated with me too when you said that. That was great, William. Now, obviously, you're saying getting your sacred space and spend more time. We kind of ran through that, but I can see where that's really quite allowing yourself the space to figure out physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual, all aspects. Interesting.
Do this once a week at least to the point where it becomes a regular routine, a similar routine to you walking, your dog every day or just going to the gym or whatever important things that are important for you, going to the church or wherever you go to pray, doing this kind of exercise, but creating the environment because you're almost like on a date with yourself. Even if that date is a short 15-minute to half-hour date, it's still a date that is worthy of creating this sacred atmosphere. And then when the date is over, when your work is over, you also take some kind of recognition to celebrate that you committed your time to this growth of yours, even if it's like you're going to drink a little bit of wine or have your favorite cup of coffee or do something, whatever it may be, as a reward. Smell the roses, take that, whatever it is, because there's a relationship and you're shifting your energy in a way that again you can't see it, but it's really working.
So,
It's working hard, by the way. And I gotta say something, every time you create a wheel, save them, because over time when you and date them, because over time when you visit them you will be amazed at the amount of change it created for you. And one more thing, when you make that wheel, it is shifting not only something within yourself, but within your son and
wow.
those around. The closest people around you, you're creating a shift. Nobody's going to know or see it or nothing at the beginning. It's very even difficult. You can't verbalize it and don't verbalize it. It's best not to. But over time, you will be able to measure it. It's not something, we don't use the same scale for spirituality, but there is a scale for it. It just works. The scale is different for spirituality than it is for like physical parts of ourselves.
Right. So I think let's just really quickly, the first part is the allowing the brain. I think, even with hypnotherapy, people, I can see them starting to think about it. I'm like, wait, no, let's go back into just allow, because they're like, wait, that wasn't a good one. Let me think of something else, and that's not what our subconscious mind has all the answers. So just tapping into that. So I love that you said, wait, don't think about it, just allow. Then we go through that process, and in the end, give yourself some gratitude and acceptance, because then your spirit is acknowledging that next step, that higher level. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that practice, William. That was beautiful.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate that you kept, because sometimes I mentioned the wheel, but the fact that you really wanted the specifics, and it's just something, it seems simple. It's just the fact that the repetition, it's you do this you give gratitude, you repeat, and again, over and over again. This is just one of the most simplest exercises that has had a profound effect on myself and all those that I teach. One of the first things that I do, even when I work one-on-one with person, is we go through a wheel, whether it's a story that they're stuck on or something in their personal life, or we go through the wheel, sometimes without even them knowing that we're going through the wheel.
Wow. Well, I could speak to you for hours here, but we've been talking for a long time and we've gotten a lot of great information. And you have divinely written 20 plus books. You have some amazing feature films out. Real quickly, tell us a snippet about what Pomegranate's all about.
Oh, Pomegranate is just a beautiful film about Iraqi American women. One is a Muslim living across the street from a Chaldean, a Christian. And this is during the elections. And the whole part of this is because women empowerment, showing that women from the Middle East, they have, just like thousands of years ago, we have an incredible power that nobody wants to shine a light on, but I will shine a light on that. The characters in real life represent who they uh the actresses represent the characters and they are in real life who they're representing.
Oh,
And they're beautiful, they're smart. And if we keep the stories that we want to come forward is the stories that we have to shine light on so that the universe starts understanding these are the stories that we want. The more we shine light on negativity, it's not that we should ignore negative stories because I said all have a dark side we have to acknowledge. But it's right away moving out of those stories because if you get stuck in that negativity, that's all you're going to see again and again. And again, I think God brought me, I think I'm part of that region to show that this is what happens if you keep looking at the same story and not know how to change the narrative. And so Pomegranate is showing that you can be from different background and you can, on a conscientious level, you can still see yourself as the highest that you can be. And another thing is we really politically, this is a great country. We should not be divided about different the highest form of humanity is being able to use our intellect and our emotions. We have to know how to control our emotions. We need to know how to live in harmony physically, emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually. And when we arrive to that highest power, is that when we can have a beautiful, beautiful conversation like you and I are having. And you and I bet if we talked about politics right now, we can disagree or agree without it being a big deal.
yeah, it
Like
doesn't
we would
matter.
just walk away like, hey,
Yeah.
peace, have a nice day.
Well said, William. Well said. So to close it off, for the listeners, where can we find you?
So my website is my first and last name. And I want to say one last thing.
Can you spell your first and last name?
Yes, WeamNamou.com. Weamnamu.com. I'm just going to say regarding the wheel and other teachings that were passed on to me through my mentors, through Lynn. I've had many beautiful conversations with Lynn that are in my four-part memoir series. I wrote about my experience in her school. 4 years of school. If I would have wrote all the teachings, each book would have been like 1,000 pages. But what I did is I really condensed. I took the more practical teachings that can be passed on to any, whether you're going to go into school or not, you can use them, including the wheel. It's in my first, because that's what we learned the first year, and it's called Healing Wisdom for a Wounded World. And my life-changing journey through a shamanic school. And it's book one, book two, book three, book four. And you will see how each year the transformation that happened, the things that we had to look into ourselves. And during that time is when I had my children were very young. And this was even before, like I said, my first book was even my book that won an Eric Hoffer, that was before it was even released. I showed what I had to go through, the transformations, and each one of my teachers were amazing. And since then, Lynn has passed away, and two of my mentors who were part of the book series. And I told them from day one, I said, your words I'm capturing all your words for other people to learn from them.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll definitely put that all in the show notes. And thank you so much for your time, Leanne. This is
Thank you. I feel like
so
I was just sitting having coffee with you, maybe one
we
of those
were, because I
days.
think you have a coffee
I
cup and I
know,
do.
it felt so
Coffee
like I was
talk
in
with
your
Julie
living
and
room. That
me.
was fun. It was
Coffee
really fun.
talk.
Thank you very
So,
much.
for everyone listening, if you love this, please like it and please share it and subscribe. And we'll see you again. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.